Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. And yeah, I hope you all had a great weekend. I'm just back after a weekend away. You know, it's a very scary weekend. You know, the 31st of October is the scariest day in Ireland because yes, there is Halloween, but also that's the day that income tax is due. So it's been a pretty spooky time, but we've just about made it through, just about. But yeah, we're diving in today, and what I want to do, we're going to be jumping over to the test server in a minute, but there is going to be an Ice Golem tournament starting tomorrow, so I want to show you a couple of different ways to handle this tournament. For anyone that's not doing the fusion, this could be a pretty cool way to spend some time, right? I actually do think that the artifacts that drop go away. No. Actually, here you go. Quick tip that people have spotted. I saw them chatting about it in my clan chat. I've not really been able to play all that much over the weekend. I've just been trying to hop on and leave auto battles running and stuff to try get this fusion done. But with these, basically what it seems that they do the shining light version of a pack, which is like okay, and then they do like a darkest night or something version, which is the same pack but much better value. So that's something you might want to consider if you are buying any of these. And by the way, I think that these packs are decent. There is like a whole offer. Actually, let me show you this to you guys because it actually does matter a lot if you are a spender. If you come over into my Discord channel, this is from Smiley TK. You can actually go and join Smiley TK's Discord. He also does videos on some of these. So for example, like this, don't purchase yet. So that's very interesting. But he will break down how good these packs tend to be. It's just something to watch out for here. I will certainly say if you are a low spender, guys, just to throw this out there, there will be like Black Friday stuff at the end of November for Black Friday. And there will be Christmas stuff, obviously at Christmas. And those tend to have lots of good packs and lots of very strong packs. And something to be aware of as well is that the Forge Pass, the next season, is coming in. And that set looks really good too. So like if you're trying to stay on a small budget, which I think is a pretty good way to play, you know, there's going to be lots of things to spend money on. So I'd say go watch Smiley's video as well. Anyway, I'll be back over on the test server. Let's build some teams for Ice Golem, which is supposed to be the point of this video. I'll be right back. All right, guys, here we are. We are on the test server, and let's dive straight into building up a champion. I actually don't have built for doing this, which is why we're on the test server, but we're assuming that you don't have any of the legendaries, right? With the Gaellen Pact right here, so we can use any of these 4 factions. The easiest way to do this, I think, again, assuming you don't have legendaries, which can change it up, I do think that Venomage built to solo this dungeon is going to be the easiest thing. You just need to be careful to put in like 4 food champions that are part of the Gaellen Pact faction. That's going to be very easy. AoE poisons. We've got decreased defense, decreased attack here. We've got poison explosion at A1. Less damage from heal reduction, fantastic stuff. So let me throw some gear on her right now. I'll show you how I built her, and then we'll dive in and check her out on a run, see if she can do it. Okay, cool. So pretty interesting. I was doing some testing here, make sure that like all this stuff definitely works because I have not used this champion before. We can actually solo Ice Golem's Peak stage 24 with Venomage. However, I would say it's actually extremely gear intensive. This is not going to be an accessible option, but stage 20 is the same affinity and actually should work really well. So let's dive in here, let's blast through this. We'll obviously skip once we see how the waves go. Wave 1 is actually quite slow, and this is just unfortunate that basically these 2 enemies at the front will cleanse off debuffs, and that just kind of sucks, right? We do not have any self-healing in Venomage's kit. So, unfortunately, in order for it to work, you can see right there, the cleanse comes in. You do need to run her in the regen set so that she can actually heal herself back up. So there's no way to stop them actually doing this. So you could throw in maybe some food with some ability to stun these enemies if you wanted, or if you wanted to run just like not purely a solo build. But yeah, it's going to take us a good chunk of time to get through this wave. These counterattack animations are going to slow us down as well, but we are going to get through. I'll be back when we get to wave 2. We'll check out wave 2. And obviously I'll show you the build and stuff at the end. If you watched my my Celiac Priest Orin video recently, it's going to be really similar to that. So we'll be right back. Okay, so here we go. About 1 minute 50 or so coming into wave 2. And you can see it's going well so far, but you'll see how hard these enemies hit us. That's a big smack. And again, those are weak hits right there, guys. So you can see those are 2 weak hits. We got down to about 50% life. They cannot crit us, right? Because Venomage is the positive affinity, so we can't be crit. We see we're taking damage from her AoE attacks on these reflect damage stacks. She's getting a bit beaten up here. And I'll show you the gear, of course, after the run. She's in very, very good, well, not like absolutely insane gear, but she's in really good gear. So this is definitely intensive. You can see that this wave is going to be tough. Certainly when it went to stage 24, extremely difficult, right? Just straight up extremely tough on stage 24. I have her 3-star ascended here, or awakened here as well. If you didn't have that gear level, you'd be in a pretty tough spot. But you can see that this wave actually does die pretty quick. It's going to take us roughly about a minute to get through this wave. It's not going to take very long. It's really all about, can you survive? There we go. About 1 minute, actually, I think, on the dot to get through wave 2. We come to the boss, and again, the boss should actually be very straightforward. The only big issue here is just making sure we have enough resistance built so that we don't get debuffed with heal reduction or decreased defense, that sort of thing. We're actually proccing, we've got 1 refresh amulet, which is proccing like crazy right now, which is great. Anything that's going to give her cooldown reduction and stuff like that, just lucky procs, is going to speed things up. But the boss really shouldn't take too long. It's just all about throwing out those poisons. The ads will die pretty quick. Neurotoxin proccing twice in a row, why the heck not? What we really want to speed it up is for her A3, the AoE poison move, for that to come back. And now the way that this basically works is that her direct damage is quite low, though we do have decreased defense out there, which will up it a little bit, but she shouldn't do too much direct damage. There we go, loads of poisons on the boss, and you can see he is just chunking down right now. And he should not hopefully respawn the ads really at all. We can get a bit unlucky and she can hit him hard enough with a random crit or something to just push him over a threshold, but so long as the poison damage does the damage, it won't actually spawn the ads back in. And yeah, the boss again actually falls over really quickly, so you get slowed down a lot on wave 1, but wave 2 is quick. The boss is actually quite quick. And there you go. It's a really easy way to do this tournament. Just make sure, I've got random food. Don't do this. You do need to bring in food champions for the masteries to work. But 4 minutes or so. And again, that's on 60 FPS, guys. Let me make that clear as well. I'm running, on just, not this one, on 60 FPS. Frickin' banners, 60 FPS. So if you do unlimited, it will be faster. But I'm trying not to use unlimited anymore, just because, you know, for playing in the background and for setting like a pretty stable estimate for how fast you can do this stuff. So if I show you her gear, like I said, it's actually very, very good. You don't need this much. These are the total stats. We're really gone overboard. What I would be aiming for here, I have 70,000 defense, HP. I'd try to get her around 60,000. And again, we just need to get through wave 2. That is the tricky part right there. About 60,000 health. If you can get her to about 3,000 defense, that's good. You can go down to maybe 2,800, 2,700. You'll really have to play with that HP and defense number if you're low. You'll see it very straightforward though. You'll get to wave 2 and you'll just die if you don't have enough. But this should be plenty. Like I said, this was enough actually for stage 24, but it was very close. About 220 speed is a really good point to aim for, so that you just get back to your regen set quickly enough and you just speed it up the run. No crit rate or crit damage, just avoid those stats. Then you want 300 resistance. You can go up to 350 to make things as consistent as possible, but around about 300 is kind of the sweet spot to resist what the boss and the minions are trying to throw at you. And then 220 accuracy is the sweet spot right there. So you can obviously see here, you know, my Great Hall is contributing a lot, the Faction Guardians is, and of course we have her with 300 bonus defense with a blessing. This is why I don't recommend this for stage 24 unless you got all that stuff. Stage 20 though, you can see she does go through it pretty well. So it's gear intensive, but it is doable. And I think that it's one of the easiest ways to handle this tournament. You just need one champion. That's it. For her masteries, I gave her this. You could definitely give her War Master, which is going to make it a bit faster. But this is your safer bet, which is going down the defense and the support tree. You're giving her more turn meter, extending the debuffs, more speed for dead allies. That really helps. Then defense tree for that bit of extra resistance, you know, less damage from AoE, bit more healing, that sort of thing. But yeah, so it's up to you. And again, this build is going to also work well on Dragon. Of course, for Dragon, you don't need the resistance really, and you just want, you know, War Master is going to speed it up quite a lot. But this is a nice solo build, so I think it's a good option. Oh, just to mention, for the Blessing, I chose her Iron Will. 10% less damage from skills activated or by enemies when it's not their turn. So if we do get a bit unlucky and the Ice Golem, you know, does his counterattack randomly, it's just going to reduce that damage by 10%. Just a little bit helpful. The main reason really is for the bonus defense, bonus HP and resist if we got her to 4-star awaken. So you can basically pick something just for the stats really. The effects aren't that good, unfortunately. Iron Will effect is okay. See, Cruelty or Lethal Dose, they give you, and same thing with Phantom Touch, they're giving you attack, which you really don't want. Chainbreaker, again, just for the stat. You could just pick stuff for the stats. You could go Commanding Presence if you need some more HP. That's a good one too. I'll give you a bit more accuracy with her aura. I didn't mention that she does have a 45 accuracy in all battles aura, so you can subtract that. I'm saying 220 resistance. If you're using her aura, you can actually subtract the aura from this, so it makes the accuracy easier to build. But that's the Venom Mage solo. Let's throw together some other teams. If you don't want to solo it, you want to just get through it a little bit faster, so be right back. We're basically looking for epic type champions that are going to be good against green affinity. Let's throw together something, and yeah, let's see another team. Okay guys, so really quick, I think this is the team we're going to try, and basically what we're trying to do, we want to bring in a good defensive team with a decent amount of wave clear. We don't need to be too fussy. I was looking at Ogren tribes. I'm trying to avoid any legendaries or anything like that, but Ugo is obviously going to be great. Good healing, AoE decreased defense. The block buff's actually very helpful for wave 2, stops that reflect damage going out, so that's a good solid option. In the rare, I'm actually going to the rares, guys, for Bellower. Gear Grinder, also really good if you want a revive in there. Gear Grinder is great. Healing and a revive. Bellower for just AoE damage, I think is going to be just great. And there we go. We're also going to bring in Grush, who I will level up and book up and stuff because I don't have him built on my account. I will build him up here though. Grush, login reward. He's going to give us, again, pretty good AoE damage and more healing, which is going to be nice. In the Lizard, other options in Ogren, depending what you have, Shatterbones is obviously good AoE damage. Champions I don't really have here, but like Golcut and stuff like that. There's good damage dealers in Ogren, actually. That's a place to look if you have them built up. Maneater could be a decent sub, not too bad. And yeah, Siegebreaker or Siege Hulk, whatever he's called, he's not too shabby either. But Bellower is a good option that pretty much everyone will have built up. In the Lizardmen, obviously Venom Mage herself is perfect. Even in a full team like this, she's going to be fantastic for killing the boss. You can fill in with what's his name, Broadmaw. Could be a good filler, right? Good speed booster, reviver if you need that. That's not too bad. The rest of them are a little bit dodgy. Lizardmen I feel like is a bit more tricky. For the Skinwalkers, again, it depends what you have. You got a reviver and Hofferes. Fane for good single target damage. If you got Cleopteryx, she's going to be great. If you got Uko from the fusion, Uko is going to be great. Ragash from a recent guaranteed event, recent-ish, he's really good. So you got a good option. Steel Skull to keep you alive. There's some pretty good stuff there. Taurus for poisons. And then for orcs, Vrask can give you lots of healing. Seeker is a bit difficult to use, but you could if you had enough buffs. And we're going to use Sandlashed for just damage and for the passive to keep us alive in case something goes wrong. Oh, I forgot to mention we're bringing in Jareg as well. He's got a great passive, protecting us when we take a big hit. Ally protection, increased defense. Sandlash actually will extend those buffs. So this should be, I think, a real nice team. Let me go throw gear on them, and then we'll see them in the run. I'll be right back. All right, guys, so here we go. Let's dive in. We've got some actually really solid gear on some of these champs, and then a couple of them don't have very good gear at all. So we should really rip through this is the expectation. You can actually see, believe it or not, Sandlash Survivor is going to be the main source of damage. I think Bellower doesn't really have good gear. I thought I had really good gear on Bellower, and I realized that was the last test server. When we obviously did our rare only Hydra team. So we've really switched things up. So you can see here, Ugo's really good for this wave, the block buffs. Again, we're going to get through this stuff really safely. One thing you can certainly do with presets is, for example, you could make your Jareg, if you got one, save as or any champion that you've got from this faction with like increased defense or ally protection. You could make them save it for the start of this wave to try get it through, because I do think, again, this wave is tough. It's not as bad though when you're not soloing. These two dudes at the front, their Shriek move is like a 2-hitter at random. So when you're a solo champion, like with the Venom Mage, that Shriek move, it can really destroy you. But because it's going to be split over your team, it's not that bad. It can be a bit rough, but not too bad. So you can see we're getting through much faster. We got some nice big nukers here on this team. But yeah, that's sort of what you're going for, right? I think if you're struggling with Ice Golem was one of the most annoying dungeons to farm. If you're struggling with it, I think the way to do it is definitely bringing in like the increased defense and ally protection. Like Jareg is so good for this, and he's well worth building up as well. You can see him proccing these heals everywhere. We have the ally protection proc from Sandlash, really good here too, just to give us that safety. But yeah, like that stuff is really good. So we're going to get lots of stuff respawning. So you can see this is going to be much more chaotic because we're not using the poisons. So we're going to be pushing the boss constantly. And it's one of the tricky things, right? The more damage that you do, the faster you clear this, the tougher it gets. But really relying on ally protection is one of the safest ways. Increased defense is good, but of course the boss starts ignoring defense when you get far enough. So bringing in a good increased defense, a good decreased attack champion can help as well. We have Grush, but he's not very reliable. We've got Bellower does give us a backup decreased attack. The small version is out there, so that will definitely help. Yeah, there we go. Grush is giving him decreased crit damage. Thanks, Grush, for nothing. Unbelievable. So we are going to get through. Again, you will find, though, if when you're earlier in the game, it's probably going to be easier in some ways because you're not going to be pushing the boss through. Here he goes again, but we managed to kill one of the ads. So it's definitely tricky, but a team like this should get you through. Jareg is just so good, and Sandlashed so good as well. It depends what you have in this faction, and obviously if you start putting in legendaries, it's going to get a lot easier. So it's still not going to be a super quick run. We're going to be looking at probably like 3 minutes and 20 seconds or something, because you know these respawns really do slow you down, but you don't have all that much option. You know, the best way really to beat this boss consistently quickly is usually to have like your team die and for poisons to take it down. I do think that's kind of difficult to build on short notice. So unless you've got that preset made, I don't see this as being something you're going to do that's relevant for this short-term, tournament. But it's something to consider maybe for the future. You know, have your Venomage, have a bunch of nukers in there that will die off, really squishy ones, and then Venomage solos the boss. Could be really good, but a bit difficult to build up. I think just building a consistent enough team like this should be good. Here's the last. Here we go, big one. So it's a big hit. You can see we can tank through with the ally protection, with the Sandlash stuff. We get through and we're fine, but that's definitely sketchy, and that's where like having a good defensive team does help. But yeah, there you go. You can see we might lose Grush here. Yeah, Grush may just die. He doesn't have enough resistance. You can see that heal reduction does get quite dangerous, but boss goes down. Actually, I said 320. It was almost 4 minutes, so it's almost the same. In fact, it's basically the same speed. It's basically the same as the Venomage solo. And in a lot of ways, it's also pretty gear intensive. Let me show you the gear on these champions. So yeah, I mean, honestly, if you can do the Venomage solo, that is probably what I would recommend. It's probably what I'd recommend. And you can like start grinding up some food at the same time, which is quite nifty. So that is what I would do, but there are alternatives here. I'm curious if you guys have a better team. I'd like to know as well. Can't remember which Ugo we use, but they're typically built, you know, good speed, tanky, and really high accuracy. So these are built for Hydra. You don't really need that much accuracy. Of course, 220 is more than enough for the dungeon. War Master and extending debuffs is the Ugo build. In fact, the way to do it is this, isn't it? I never used this, and I should. It was this Ugo. Cool. Jareg, you can see his stuff's not fully rolled up. He's built with lots and lots and lots of health for the ally protection. Good speed is a good idea. And again, he's got more accuracy than he needs. And he's got an accuracy banner that probably needs to be rolled up to work against the Eternal Dragon. He's great for that, though. War Master and extending his buffs and extending his debuffs. That's going to be fine. Grush, I just put gear on Grush, so he's geared, I'd say, pretty darn well, actually. He got 60k HP, good chunk of defense, very fast. So that's why he was doing a lot of damage and all the rest. So I kind of geared him better than probably is reasonable, though he doesn't have any masteries. Sandlashed, I do really like this build too. High defense. She's slow, but she hits pretty hard. Good resistance. It's a nice build for PvP as well. She does hit really hard. And she's got Helm Smasher for, I guess, random PvP stuff I was using. Arena, I should say. And then we've got Bellower in some stun set stuff. You could build him to do more damage, but, you know, just a good fast Bellower with enough accuracy. In fact, you want to build him with more than this, about 350 accuracy and really lots of speed. And he doesn't really need to do damage, but just to be a stun set, basically a crowd control champion. For Doom Tower waves, and he's still going to be good for this dungeon. And obviously, again, you start putting in some of those legendaries and you're going to rip through. Like if you got a Cleopteryx, she's really good. Uko's great. You know, for the revives, Ragash should be absolutely fantastic. You get the gist, guys, but there you go. A couple of different team ideas. Again, let me know your team ideas. Be very curious to hear what you guys are doing. But yeah, I'd recommend the Venomage. Simplest, easiest way to do it. One champion, one rebuild if needed, and you're good for the tournament. Or again, building a smart team using some champs like the ones I used. Thank you. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.